And to your point, I 100% agree that if you can buy something that is past that initial phase of where startups fail,
Mm.
right? You already know there's a model here that works. There's a website that's working, it's ranking well, it's getting a lot of traffic. So a lot of the question marks are gone. The question marks that remain are, can you grow it? And how quickly can you grow it? And then, to a lesser extent, can you prevent it from declining, right? Can you at least maintain what it has, if nothing else?
Yeah, which is huge. At like the part of due diligence is like some people rush through this, and I just think it's so important because not only are you asking yourself like, is this going to decrease, and how do I minimize my risk, or how do I minimize what risks may be involved with the site, but also what is that time frame of growing it, and what can I do? So in your due diligence process, are you first looking at how do I remove these risks or minimize these risks? And then secondly, are you looking at what are the things would be the low hanging fruit, and how long would it take me to execute that and see a result? And then what would be the more macro term things you'd be looking at? Is that sort of a process, or how does that play out for you when you're doing your due diligence?
Right. So you often have to look at a lot of sites before you can find something that is really valuable, that doesn't have a lot of those question marks or red flags. And so when I'm doing my due diligence, a lot of it is just eliminating a lot of the obvious problem sites. So you don't want to buy something that typically, at least for me, I don't want to buy a site that's declining in traffic and earnings. I don't want to buy something that is just brand new. I want something that's been established, that is, been making money for 3 or 4 years, potentially, right? Less could be okay, but the longer, the better that it's been established. Um, and I look at the backlink profile. Are there a lot of spammy backlinks? I look at, is there any one main source of traffic? And what are the risks associated with that traffic source? So if it's all coming from Pinterest, or if it's all coming from Google, you need to be aware that that's a lot of risk with just Google, or just with Pinterest, or just with Facebook, or whatever. And you just need to be aware of that and make sure that you can maintain that same traffic level, or be able to diversify. And so the other thing I would look at is all your traffic coming through one main keyword or to one main page, right? So if you rank number one in Google for a really popular term, or if the site ranks in Google for one particular term, and that gets 90% of the traffic, that's definitely a big red flag that would probably make me avoid that site,
Yeah.
right? I want something that's got hundreds or maybe thousands of ranking keywords that are all, well diversified. So if one, the next day isn't ranking very well in Google, my site's not going to take a very big hit, right? It's
Yeah.
not 90% of the traffic and earnings. And so those are some of the things that I look at in due diligence, is definitely trying to eliminate the obvious losers first. And then once I get to the ones that sort of pass some of these initial due diligence tests, I dive deeper, of course, and look at the earnings and the sources of the earnings, and then start, to your point, looking at how can I improve the site. Thinking about a site that, for example, I bought one about a year and a half ago, and it got most of its traffic from Pinterest. And so when I looked at it with my lens of SEO, which is what I spend a lot of my time on my content sites doing, I figured, all right, here's a really well established site. It's been around for 10 years. It gets a lot of traffic from Pinterest that can potentially be a little bit risky, but I believe that it's been under optimized severely in Google. And I believe there's a lot of potential there, where I could make some tweaks to the site, make it rank better, and also add new content and focus on SEO, which is my strength. And so we've been able to do that and see some returns there. But generally speaking, that's kind of what I'll look at, is what are the opportunities for growth, whether that's a new traffic source. It could be adding a new monetization opportunity, which I've done on the other site that I purchased about a year and a half ago is we've launched a couple of new products to that particular audience. Rather than just relying on their existing products, we thought, how can we monetize this in a new and better way to see a better return? So those are a couple of the things that I'll definitely look at to help grow and make a site more valuable.
Yeah, I love it. And one of the things that I really picked up on is that you said uh, you're not looking to buy a site that's declining. And that's so important for people to understand. I had a client that just literally yesterday, I finished helping them with a due diligence review. It's part of what I do in our community is I help people, I skim through their due diligence and just review it to make sure they're not going and buying a lemon. Anyway, he had a site for sale, and they're heavily reliant on Pinterest traffic. And like you said, one source sensitivity is not good. And that can be whether it be from one algorithm being Facebook, Google, YouTube, Pinterest, being wherever, or it could be one source sensitivity on one of those algorithms being keywords or links. And so this site had one source sensitivity from Pinterest heavily. And on top of that, it was already affected throughout 2019 with the Pinterest algorithms, which you've seen, and I've seen a lot of sites that have really been affected from the Pinterest changes last year and also starting off in 2018. And so a part of that I really want people to understand is that if a site's declining down, that it's important to understand you have some natural laws that are forcing that down. To reverse that, it makes it really, really hard. B, if it's a one source sensitivity at either platform or on one platform and still having one source, i.e. link or keyword, that you're still putting yourself at risk. And if you've got the skills like you do, Spencer, or we do with our teams to diversify that and minimize that risk, then you can go forwards and proceed. But certainly buying a site that's already declining makes it so much harder, especially if you're a first time buyer. So I really, really am glad that you brought that up. And guys, come back and listen to this podcast episode again and see Spencer's approach on just minimizing the risk, seeing what's there are, and then how can he add value and what will be low hanging fruit and what can he do next.